you have successfully built this incredible show, The Passionate Few, and you know you're out to make more impact. My question for you is, what is the impact you want to create for the world with your vision?
I love that. I love that question. For me personally, my vision is to create a body of work that can live on for many years to come, that can inspire people to say, hey, if he did it, then I could do it. You know, they say very often you find millionaires going to monks for answers. You very seldomly find monks going to millionaires for answers.
Wow.
And the reality is that so many of us are not acting upon the inspired visions within. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of The Passionate Few. I'm super excited because today I'm in the hot seat as I'm the one being interviewed instead of me interviewing. I have my man ZENAS CHIN, and if you guys don't know, my name is OMAR ELATTAR, host and creator of The Passionate Few podcast and YouTube show. I've interviewed over $10 billion worth of entrepreneurs, and very often I'm reluctant to be put in the hot seat, but my man ZENAS had some great questions, and if you guys have any questions and you guys enjoy this, make sure to subscribe, check out more videos. But with no further ado, ZENAS is going to pick my mind all about my story, my journey, the lessons I've learned, you know, interviewing over $10 billion worth of entrepreneurs, helping clients, you know, interview their people, make their dreams come true in their businesses with their brand and their own show. And I'm going to share a little bit about my vulnerable story, things I haven't shared before. And I hope to add a lot of value to you guys. So make sure to stay to the very end for all the juicy details. So no further ado, thank you so much for interviewing me today, ZENAS. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, Omar. Thank you for your time. So first of all, I want to acknowledge you for your incredible accomplishment. You see, like, I know a lot of the best people, leaders, and market authorities in the world. They have shows, right? Grant Cardone, Tom Bilyeu, Ed Milet, Vishy Lakhiani, they all have their own shows. But most of them started their show after they have an established business. But I know you have a very unique story. You started from nothing. If anything, you started from negative. So could you share a bit about how you started with us?
Yeah, you know, it's actually very interesting. You know, when I look at some of the top leaders in business, you know, I didn't notice it consciously, but when you look at, you know, Oprah, you know, what did Oprah do before she had her own show and became a billionaire? Nothing. She was, you know, interviewing people, giving audiences value. You know, the list goes on and on of people who've done similarly. But, you know, when I look at, you know, kings of their niche, right, or queens of their niche, when I look at people who are the celebrity authorities in their niche, I find that very often from a business perspective, and this wasn't my intent going in, but I noticed most of them have shows. You know, when you look at a Gary Vee, when you look at a Tai Lopez, regardless of your personal opinion on them, when you look at a Tony Robbins or a Grant Cardone or Ed Milet or a Lisa Nichols or whoever your niche or, you know, realm of business or vertical is, you find that the leaders are very often the people that facilitate knowledge and are sort of inheriting traffic, building value. And when you interview people, you get to build good synergy, phenomenal relationships. You have business opportunities happen. Yeah, it's a good conversation point. Yeah, it feels freaking cool. You know, but in the beginning, I didn't have all this insight. I didn't know what it would do for my business or my personal brand. I was just so passionate about doing it. And I had no idea how to, no experience. You know, to tell you a little bit of, you know, backstory about how I started, I was 24 years old. And I was working sales jobs, right? All my life, I was trying to do something meaningful. I knew I wanted to do something big. I just didn't know how. And I was always passionate. I always wanted to do something meaningful, but I just didn't have the vehicle or the thing. So fast forward, I'm 24 years old. I graduated college at 21. Wasn't the biggest fan of college, but I graduated. And I was trying to figure out how to make my life work, right? I was trying to figure out how to do something meaningful. I see all my other friends starting to have success, starting to get jobs. And I just couldn't crack the code for some reason, you know? And I think if you're listening to this or watching this, you can kind of relate to that in some capacity where, you know, for a long time you struggle because you know you want to do something, you just don't know how. And I was at a point where, you know, years were going by and I was 21 and 22 and 23 and 24. Finally at 24, I found myself having a bunch of jobs, you know, from tutoring. I worked a day at a Tutti Frutti, which is a yogurt shop. I got fired the first day.
Wow.
I tutored kids. I tried to sell stuff, not narcotics, but at first I would try to sell like, you know, I tried to like go to swap meets and get shirts and then sell them wholesale online. And then One day I was like in rock bottom, and I met this guy who was making all this money in his early 20s. I was like, dude, what do you do? He was like, oh, I'm a salesperson. And I was like, oh, really? And he was like, yeah, salespeople are the highest paid people on the planet. So I was like, okay, let's give this a shot. Let's try to find some passion through there.
100%.
And so I went to go work for his company. Lo and behold, he was a salesman, but door to door. So I started selling solar door to door.
Wow.
I think I was 23 at this time. This is just before I turned 24 and start the show, but I'm 23 years old. I'm knocking on doors selling solar. I do that for about a year. I did okay in it, but it was kind of, dual side, right? The beauty of life is the pros and the cons simultaneously. So on the pro side, it built resilience in me, determination. I mean, it's not easy to be in the hot heat, knocking on doors for 100% commission, no guarantee of pay, trying to sell people $30,000 solar systems who don't want you on their doorstep. And I'm doing that day in and day out, right? So it built a lot of resilience. On the other hand, it was soul sucking because I thought, man, I'm just doing this for money. Don't get me wrong. I believed in the mission of it, but it was the only vehicle of freedom and flexibility and finances all in one, or so I thought. So I did that for a year, kind of hit a dead end there and wasn't feeling very fulfilled doing it. I ended up quitting doing that. And I have a friend who worked at Tesla, shout out Michelle Chang. And so I reached out to Michelle, and because I had experience in solar, I ended up getting an interview at Tesla, got the job at Tesla, and I was like, yes, I'm hyped. But the reality is I was really not in a good place. I was $30,000 in debt at this time. I was overweight. I was drinking. I was engaging in a lot of wastes of time, poor activities. I'm getting older and older, and my debts are getting larger and larger. My sense of fulfillment is decreasing. And I just feel the walls caving in on me. I'm getting older. Friends are starting to get jobs. I graduated them. They're starting to make 50 grand a year, 70 grand a year. Here I am working at Tesla as a salesman, trying to, outwit the next sales guy. And I just felt nothing wrong with it. I just felt I wanted something more, something meaningful, something impactful, something like didn't want to settle.
Like a show.
And I was also dating a show, but I didn't know that at the time. And I was dating this girl who was pretty much the only thing I had, Before that, I had dated other girls, but this was the first time that I had ever been serious about a girl and thought about a future and all this stuff. And I think in a certain capacity, that became my escape from my troubled reality, right? Her. And for whatever reason, we had a couple of fights or whatever. And out of the blue one day, she calls me and ends things.
Wow.
And I was devastated. So here I am, $30,000 in debt. I'm overweight. I'm broke. I'm depressed. I'm unfulfilled. I'm lost. Classic story, but it's the truth. I was really at my rock bottom, emotionally, physically, financially, mentally, socially. I mean, in every capacity, professionally. I mean, I had a hard time with my parents because, they're like, dude, you're in your mid-20s. What are you doing? And so I ended up quitting my job at Tesla. And shortly thereafter, she breaks up with me and I'm devastated. So she, that ended up being the last time I ever spoke with her till this day. And it just left me like that. And I was stunned and I was just like, oh my God. So I go into this deep depression. And here I am trying to figure out my life. And I have a couple $100 left in the bank, maybe $300, which is, I'm broke. I owed it anyways.
Wow.
And I find this life coach, shout out to Dave Thorpe, and I reach out to him and we end up having a meeting. And in this meeting, he says, Omar, I want to ask you a question. Biography doesn't equal destiny, right? And the famous Tony Robbins expression rings true here. Nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning that you give it, right? So I can choose if this meaning of the breakup is a breakdown or breakthrough. Now, he's given me all this talk, this spiel, and at the time, it's going in one ear, out the other, but little by little, it starts to make sense to me. And I said, well, what am I going to do, sit here and have a pity party? And so I remember with tears running down my face, a paper and a pen. I still have the paper with dried up tears, water spots on it.
You
from
kept
my
it?
tears. I still have it, yeah.
Wow.
And it means the world to me. I basically wrote down this prophecy, and Dave had me write down. He said, Omar, if life was perfect, what would happen next? What would happen next? So I go about writing out this plan. I didn't have the foresight for a show, but he said, okay, well, if you don't know the entree of what you want to do, right, write down the ingredients. So write down the ingredients. What do you know, right? Start with what you know and let it grow. What do you know? Very often people ask me, well, how do I find my passion? How do I find my purpose? Don't go seek it outside, go within. right? If you're looking for your car keys, you're not going to go outside your house to look for them. You're going to go inside. If you're lost inside, look inside. Don't look outside for what's missing inside.
Yeah.
And so he just started filling my mind with this. And then, you know, we talked about the concept that, you know, like I said, nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning that I give it. And for those listening, I hope this is valuable for you. And it really shows you that the label that you place on the experience of life becomes your experience of life, right? The label you put on it becomes the experience. You define it. Now, at the time, of course, I'm going through emotion, so it's not resonating as much, but little by little, it started to seep in there. And what we ended up doing in this coaching session was writing down all the things I'm passionate about. He said, Omar, if life was perfect, what would happen? I said, Dave, if life was perfect, I would inspire millions of people. I would make millions of dollars. I would surround myself with some of the most inspiring people on the planet and benefit other people as well. I would inspire millions of people. I would have relative free time. I would be on a mission with clarity. I would know what I want to do for the next decade of my life, at least. I would be totally fulfilled doing it. I would attract a team of people who would help me in this mission. And I started writing down what I did know, the little pieces. And so little by little, objectively, we sort of stepped back. We looked at all the pieces. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? Well, what about this? Well, what about that? Right? And we put, like, just like you would if you were a chef and you'd have these ingredients, you know. So, hey, one of my ingredients was I love communication, right? I love listening. I love rags to riches stories, right? I love Tony Robbins. I love, right? So I didn't know how it would all come together. Now, one could say, well, oh, duh, you started a show. But I think most people never take inventory of their ingredients. And so I encourage anybody listening to really ask themselves, instead of saying, well, what entree do I want to make with my life, or what dish do I want to make with my life? Ask yourself, what ingredients do you presently already have available inside of you?
Interesting.
And just like you're in the kitchen, put all the ingredients on the table and then decide what to make. I think so often people say, well, I don't know what I want to make. Don't waste your time if you don't have the ingredients, right? You could be passionate about making pasta, but if you don't have any noodles, you can't make any pasta, right? So find out the ingredients that you already do have, lay them out on the table. So we did that. I think this is why I believe in coaching is so important. It's an invaluable asset to me. And that's why I enjoy helping others as I coach others as well.
100%. It's self-awareness, isn't it? It's like you got to be self-aware of what's present. And sometimes when you're in your head, it's really hard for you to see. That's why you need someone else to mirror it back to you or have a conversation with you, guide you through the journey, right?
That's why the best in the world have coaches. When you look at Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, you know, they have their Phil Jackson, they have their coach. And their coach may not be a phenomenal basketball player. So I coach many multiple 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs killing it in business, and they just need help with the show. They need help booking guests. And so we have done for you services. We have things where, you know, different clients might want different stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like, hey, whether you want to have a show, you want to figure out how to get guests, you want to do it in person, virtually, you want to help leverage it for your business or your marketing or your positioning, or you just want to build something meaningful to inspire the world, build an audience around your brand. You know, whatever the reason, everybody's motivations are different, but they are the Michael Jordan of their thing, and I become the Phil Jackson of what I do, right? So they're the Michael Jordan, the Kobe Bryant of what they do, and I might not be able to do what they do that they're, you know, doing phenomenal in their impact or their income with. But in my zone of genius, I know how to help attach it to them to take them to the next level. And that's what Dave did for me. And that changed the game for me. And so I emptied my bank account. And when I invested in Dave, I figured, screw it. What do I have to lose? I know what happens if I don't do it. But what happens if I do it? Right? What would happen if I did break through, right? Because money's cyclical, right? Money will always replenish itself. The money that me and you have in our bank account right now, I guarantee you, within X amount of months or years, it's going to be spent on something. The only question is, when money comes back, where will we be? Where will our brand be? Where will our mission be? Where will our business be? Where will our impact be? How will our relationships be? Who will we be when the money does come back, right? So that's just a long-winded way of saying that basically I put it all on the line. I laid out all the ingredients. And so me and Dave hatched this plan together. Well, what about this? What about that? What about that? And I think that's why coaches have helped me tremendously. You know, I've invested upwards of 6 figures in coaching, but
wow. So was that the pivotal moment where you shifted and think, I could start a show, right? Even though I didn't have a lot of authority at the time, or pretty much starting from scratch.
Right. And I had all these limited beliefs, right? Like, who would listen to me? Am I even good on camera? Would anybody even watch? How would I get in touch with them? I don't live close to them. Where do I start? Would my friends even listen? Will this kill my brand? Will this will I be shooting myself in the foot if it's not good, right? Will anybody even listen, right? I had all these things.
Yeah.
And what I realized in retrospect is I was listening to the fears. I wasn't listening, which, all fear is our perception of an undesirable event, our perception of the quote unquote downside. But the universe is in perfect balance, right? So anytime you take an action, there is a plus and a minus always. There is a benefit and a pro and a con always. So I wasn't looking at the pros. And so many times we justify the cons so that we don't have to take action, right? How many times have you wanted to do something, but you say, well, I'm not ready yet, or next week, next month. But imperfect action was a huge catalyst in this. And so that night, me and Dave stormed all those ingredients on paper. And he said, well, what about this? What about that? And we hatched back and forth. And the ingredients just sort of came together. And I was like, oh, I would love to film content with inspiring people and put it out there for the world. And that was it. It was that simple. We didn't know it would be a podcast initially, to be honest with you. I was trying to do day in the life interviews where I spend a day with people and help them find their purpose. I was trying to find my purpose. And I said, well, what if I imagine a show? The Passionate Few's initial idea was, what if I spent a day with a doctor, a day with a lawyer, a day with a therapist, a day with a surgeon, a day with an engineer, a day with a teacher, a day with a real estate agent, a day with all these different professions. And I wanted to help people around the world who say, well, I don't know what to do with my life. The initial vision for the show wasn't to interview billionaires. I've interviewed over 10 billion of them, from the John Paul DeJoria to all these people connected with Tony Robbins. That wasn't the vision. My initial vision was to create a show to show people, a lot of people when they're kids, for example, say, I want to be a lawyer. Yeah. Until they realize that a lawyer is only the cool guy in movies in a courtroom looking cool in a suit for about 10% of the actual time of being a lawyer. 90% of it is being in books, being in meetings, getting clients, gathering evidence, the research, right? But I wanted to show people what an actual full day in the life would be with a bunch of different professions so they can watch and choose. That was my initial vision.
So what shifted? Because I know Tom Bilyeu, the founder of Quest Nutrition and Impact Theory, was one of your first few guesses. And the fact that you got him on your show, was he like the second guest or the third guest?
Yes.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So what pivoted, and how did you even manage such a feat?
So it's wild. So what actually happened was, we wrote down that list, and I started doing day in the life stuff first. I tried doing that, and then I got stuck. So I was like, it's not going to work. It would take too long to edit it, and I didn't know what I was doing. Couldn't afford it, all that. But then I realized when I was having one-on-one conversations with the first two guests, that the conversations were almost more impactful than the 10-minute thing I was trying to do. And, now podcasts are popular, but at the time it wasn't on the forefront of my mind. And I just thought, what if I just interviewed them for an hour? It would be easier. It'd be a longer piece of content, good way to get traffic. And if they already have an audience, I can inherit the audience, right? So I went ahead and tried it. I did it once. It worked. Nobody listened. Then I did it again. Not really anybody listened. And then one day I messaged Tom Bilyeu, the billion-dollar creator of Quest Nutrition. As you know, Quest bars, love him. Shout out Tom. He's been on my show twice now. He's become a good friend, and I've helped many people in that community start their own shows.
Amazing.
But yeah, at the time, Tom, I reached out to Tom 12 different times on Instagram. He didn't respond at all. Finally, that 13th time, he messaged me back. He said, "Yeah, sure, I'll do an interview with you. Here's my number. Here's my assistant's number. How does Tuesday next week at 4 a.m. work?" I said, 4 a.m. is a little weird in my head. But I was like, yeah, sure, that works great. And just like that, boom, I took radical imperfect action.
Wow.
Didn't have any money, but I negotiated a team. I went to a Facebook group and found students who were in film school who wanted to build their portfolio, messaged them, asked them if they would do an interview or film it. I met them at 3 a.m. This is not a joke. I met them at 3 a.m. in front of Tom's house in Beverly Hills. Some of my production crew, to this day, some are still with me, some aren't. But I met them that day, minutes before going into Tom's house in Beverly Hills. We filmed the interview, and that interview ended up being the most watched Tom Bilyeu interview ever for years.
That's amazing. That's why he came back, right? I mean, it's rare for Tom to go back to a show again, and he came back for a second time.
Tom came back on the show again, so I've had him on the show twice. I've had the good fortune of going to his house in Beverly Hills. I actually, for one of my clients, shout out to Michael, So we have coaching programs and we have done for you services where we actually help people book guests and do all this. And if you guys are interested in any of that, I'll put a link in the description below. They can apply for, if you're an entrepreneur who wants to build your own show or whatever.
That's awesome.
But actually, we brought Mike to the set. So he's one of my clients. He actually came to an in-person interview, got to see me interview Tom live, got to meet him. And it's one of the most incredible experiences in the world. Not only when you get to do something, but when you help other people do it. It's so fulfilling to think that I was lost at one point and was able to help someone else do that. It's just such a surreal feeling. And to add to that, you should know this, that when I started the show, when the ex-girlfriend broke up with me, she loved three things rather. She loved eating hot Cheetos, she loved Quest bars, and she loved Grant Cardone. So I went on a mission to interview the creator of hot Cheetos, billion-dollar creator of Quest Nutrition, and Grant Cardone. And within 6 months of starting my show, I had interviewed every single one of them. And not only that, they have been the most watched and downloaded interviews on the entire planet,
Wow.
all of them.
You know, Omar, I just want to take a second here to acknowledge you because, okay, first of all, I really appreciate how you give shout outs to people. You, like, in the span of this interview already, you have given at least 4 shout outs to people. And I think that's just such an authentic thing to do. And it also takes a lot of courage to share what you just shared. So I want to just acknowledge how real you are. Really.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. So
I know it's like to be on the other end of the fence looking for answers. So I made a deal with myself that I would never be the cool guy who's like too cool or like, yeah, like it's no big deal. Like I have millions of people who I trip out all the time. Like, oh my God, like I can't even believe one person. What? You know, it's still surreal to me. And I'm so grateful for every single person. Wow. And I hope people watching this realize that inside of them, they have something inside of them that the rest of the world can't wait for them to have the courage to express. I was even joking with my team that we should start an event and call it permission, because I think that's what most people really crave the most, permission.
100%, man. 100%.
To unveil the greatness within them. But yeah, I mean, she loved those 3 people. And so I know it sounds like spiteful motivation, but my point was like, you know, she broke up with me. It was like, you don't want my time? Well, I'll show you who wants my time, you know? And that motivation was, you know, it was almost 3 years ago, but it's long since passed, and you know, I wish her well and all that. I don't live there, and I'm actually very grateful for that experience because I wouldn't be where I'm at now. But on the same token, it really drove me to find those interviews to the tune of Grant Cardone. I don't know if you know the story, but the way I got Grant Cardone was I live in LA, he lives in Florida. I saw that he was in town, and on his Instagram story, he had mentioned that he was in Beverly Hills, gonna have dinner with his wife Elena, and they were at a restaurant. So I drove all that day. I drove back and forth to Beverly Hills twice, which was 2 hours there, 2 hours back, 2 hours there again, because I missed them the first time. So 6 hours of driving. I waited outside of the restaurant that I overheard on his Instagram story telling Elena that he was going to go to in Beverly Hills. Barely had money in my gas tank. I drove there, waited outside of the restaurant, pitched him when he came out to get an interview. And he was like, really, you drove all that way to get an interview with me? And I said, yes, sir, whatever it takes, sell or be sold, like you say. And he's like, I like you, dude. He gave me the interview, and that ended up blowing up.
That's incredible. Like, you really go for what you want. Like, you actually put in the work, and you actually fight for what you believe in, your mission.
Yeah, same thing with you know, Tom Bilyeu. Like I said, I messaged him 12 times and then finally got a yes. Like literally he was ignoring all the DMs. I don't even think it was intentional, because to this day, I'm so grateful. I get hundreds of messages from fans and emails and stuff, and I can't get back to everybody.
Yeah.
But usually if people are persistent, sooner or later I'll see it and I try to respond. And a lot of times it's not that we're trying to be mean or ignore people. You just only have so much time in the day to go through. I would love to talk to everybody. I just finished up a group coaching program for people who've been in my course. I have a podcast course, which I'll also put a link for. I'm not trying to sell you guys. I'm just trying to illustrate that, like,
share the love, man. Share the love.
This is the depth I go to because I'm so passionate about what I do. Is, you know, there's a 1 hour group coaching call for anybody who checks out the course. The course is just under, it's not even $1,000. It's at this time right now, it's just under $500. It's $497.
Yeah.
And basically, like, because of we're in quarantine and COVID, I said, I want to do something special for my students. So I'm doing a group coaching for 30 days for anybody who signs up for the course for 2 days a week. So it's Mondays and Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m. Pacific time. And interestingly, and it's all automated. So as soon as they get it, they get an email and they get all the info. But
yeah,
basically that was supposed to be a 1 hour call. I went 3 hours and served my group. Like, I do that regularly, like an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours. Literally went 3 hours tonight, and I love it.
3
I,
hours.
I love
3
what
hours.
I
Okay.
love what I do at every level, helping people with this stuff,
Damn,
because
I appreciate that.
I believe that inspiring stories change the world, and I'm on a mission to humanize greatness one story at a time. And I think stories, I mean, stories are what's making somebody watch this. Stories is what's made somebody enjoy my interviews. Stories are how me and you connected. Stories what me and you are living, and an inspiring story is what each and every one of us wants to create. And so I'm
Totally.
just so passionate about that process that,
Yeah.
you know, as you can see, I've gone to the ends of the universe being a relative nobody when I started to make all this happen, to the tune of being interviewed, being invited by Tony Robbins to his most prestigious events and all that.
Amazing.
Like,
Yeah,
and
you got a voicemail from Tony, right?
one of the most surreal experiences ever. Do you want to hear it? I can play it.
Yes.
Sure. I'll play it. And again, I'm not sharing this to, in the famous words, I'm not sharing this to impress you. I'm sharing it to impress upon you what's possible for you in your own life or with your own visions. And this is why I wanted to do this interview, Zenas, because I know you asked these phenomenal questions that like always inspire. But
Thanks.
yeah, I will play this. To think that I went from, fantasizing about wanting to connect with amazing people to then get a message from Tony like this was surreal. So here's a 1-minute message that I got from Tony Robbins.
Dude, I'd love to hear.
All right, it's Tony Robbins. Listen, my dear brother Dean told me your story, man. You got to be so fucking proud of yourself, man. I'm glad I got to play a small role in helping you to make that turn, but you did it, and you get to own it for yourself. And I'm so happy to hear what your life is like today. And thanks for helping us reach more people as well in our mutual desire, Dean and I, in partnership to make this happen. So listen, man, I don't think you've been to Date with Destiny. So if you'd like to come as my guest, I do it only once a year. It's in my most intense program. And it's in December, and I don't know off the top of my head what the date is. I think it's like 5th, 6th, 7th. You can look online. But it's a 6-day program, total immersion. It's usually $10,000. I'll invite you as my guest just as an acknowledgement of the good you've done with yourself, but also it's obvious you're doing good for others as well, brother. So I'll take a picture of me, Job, and have my assistant help tie that together. So if you want to do that, I'll make sure that happens for you here. All right, brother, take care of yourself. God bless.
Wow.
Surreal.
Surreal, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's very inspiring, man. Wow.
Thank you so much. And again, I was a kid crying in my car looking for answers. I never would have thought, we'd reach millions of people, or the show, or the Tony thing, or even have my YouTube plaque for the subscribers. Like, I never in a zillion years thought anybody would listen, or like a plaque that was like, oh, what's a YouTuber? Like, I don't know any of that, but I think it goes to show that when you believe in what you're doing, you cannot transfer that with which you're not experiencing. And I think I was just experiencing such a surge of inspiration to do the thing, that the right things flowed, the right things happened. You know what I mean?
100%, 100%. And it's just so humbling too, because I know you went through a lot of hardship. You went through emotional lows, and, to get to where you're at today, it required a lot of resilience, and it required a lot of work, man, honest work. And so I want to...
A lot of rejection and failure and tears and a lot. Yes.
Absolutely. So beautifully you mentioned that, because I just want to transition to that too, is, so many rejections, bro, so many hardships. And by now you have interviewed over $10 billion worth of high-level guests. I think that's one of the special uniqueness of your channel, is that every one of your guests have accomplished great things, and the quality is just so high. So by now, well, yeah, because I thoroughly enjoy your show. So by now, like, can you share maybe one or two sort of like learnings that you have about reaching out to these top quality guests?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I started, I was loaded with limiting beliefs around, I don't have a show. Why would anybody get on my show? How do I work my way up to even get these names? How do I get people to respond to me? And I learned strategies, right? I learned strategies of knowing how to message people. I've shot dozens of messages and emails out to people that nobody responded to. In the beginning, when I started my show, I would have emails that were this huge paragraphs that was basically a request for an interview, but I learned through my system. And I teach my clients and my students this stuff. It's like, if you have strategic scripts, even if you don't have an audience, my group has called it my $1 billion networking blueprint. But basically, it's a simple set of messaging that has allowed me to elegantly get in the doors with people I never would have dreamed of. Think of it as copywriting for your inbox, if you will, right? Copyright, inquiry copy,
Like
if you
that.
will.
Mhm.
And, you know, little things like, for example, I don't usually share this stuff, but just to give you guys context, you know, look behind the scenes is, you know, little things like an emoji, right? If you put emojis in a DM or email or message or subject headline, as silly as that might sound, people are going to notice that, right? Like if you scroll through your Instagram or your Facebook or your email and you're scrolling through, what's the first thing that's going to pop out at you? Emojis, colors, right? And if you put
True.
emojis relative to the thing, I always tell people in business and life, with the show, with the branding, whatever, with clients, you can't guarantee anything. All you can do is maximize the odds. And so you maximize the odds by doing little things, adding the emoji. You know, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. The most beautiful sound in the world to anybody is their name. So if I say, you know, say I'm interviewing a fitness person and I have a fitness emoji, a muscle emoji, and a camera emoji, and I say, you know, Amanda or Tom dash quick question. Boom. Now I've done three things.
Wow.
I've got their emoji, I've said their name, and I put quick question. So even in the DM or the message or whatever, they'll see that it says quick question. What does everybody who's an influencer experience, right? I mean, I get it too. Is like, I get messages with long things and I'm so grateful and I appreciate it. But when they're so long, it's very hard to read all of them at scale.
Wow.
But if I get the
Mhm.
mental guarantee in advance, like
Mhm.
emoji, hey Zenas, quick question. Then my mind goes, okay, emoji caught my attention. My name catches my attention, and quick question. Oh, okay. So I give myself permission to relax because it's going to be quick. Even if it's not quick, just saying quick question will
Right.
subconsciously trigger their mind to go, oh. So now you've maximized all three elements of what they may see in the headline. And then you can go into what I call compliment, context, and question. So you get the hook of the
Yep.
emoji subject line. Um, you give them context of who you are, you compliment them, and you always end with a specific question. So a specific question that moves the conversation to the next step.
That is
So
so creative, man. I love
whether
that.
it whether it's how do you want to you know, context of who you are, a
Yeah.
compliment of a specific piece of work they've done or a book they want to promote. That's a
Mhm.
great time to interview people when they're promoting something. Say, hey, I'd love to bring awareness to this, or your nonprofit, or your charity, or your event, or your course, or your business, or whatever, right? So you're a giver, right? This is huge. You want them to perceive you as a giver, not a taker. Most people, hey, can I interview you for my podcast, for my show? Very often in my language, and I'll say, hey, would love to interview you and help share your message with people. I'm excited to make it happen for you. You know, who's the best person to talk to set this up in the next day or so? So in their mind, they go, oh, thanks so much. I want to talk to my assistant, Amanda, right? Or whatever. And I talk to Amanda, and Amanda will assume that Tom told me to talk to her. So otherwise, how would I have gotten her email? So, and then
Right.
she's more likely to book the interview. Very often the gatekeeper makes the decisions more
True.
than the actual person. So if you ask, instead of asking, hey, can I interview you? You haven't given them context. Interview me for what? How big is your show? They're going to have all these questions. But if you ask, you know, if I say, Zenas, what color are your socks? Whether or not you answer the question, I guarantee you your brain went in and answered that question if you're wearing socks and
I
what
just
color they
did.
are.
No,
Yes.
I'm not even wearing socks, man, but I just thought about that.
Yeah, exactly. So anybody listening, if I ask you what color is the shirt you're wearing right now, I guarantee you 100% that even if you don't say it out loud, your brain answered the question that was asked. So you ask your brain a question, it'll give you an answer. Same is true with people in life. You
Mhm.
ask a question, people will automatically generate the answer. Now they may not share it with you, but make sure you're asking a question, right? Better quality questions equal a better quality of life. The quality of your life comes down to the quality of questions
Mhm.
you ask yourself. So you want a better quality life, ask better quality questions. You want better quality sales, you want better quality whatever, comes down to better quality questions. So, you know, a non-quality question would be, can I interview you? Because there's a million
Right.
questions that they're going to ask themselves, right? But a quality question is, hey, I was wondering who would be the best person on your team to email in order to see if this would be a good fit to interview you on your schedule.
That's very
They'll say,
specific.
oh,
Mhm.
yeah, they'll say, oh, talk to Amanda. And they say, okay, cool. What's her email? You know, I make it so that they can respond in one word or less. So they're not asking me questions that would then be objections. Well, for what? For what show? For what did, right? By default, you're giving them as much context as they need to move to the next step. And then with the assistant, give them all the details, right? just one example, if they have an assistant. You could do it with the
Right.
person directly, but you just want to get in rapport and get the steps going. You don't want to overwhelm them. In the famous words of Tony Robbins, you don't want to shoot a cannon at a rabbit, right? You want to learn part of elegant communication. I'm so passionate about communication.
Yeah, it's one of your strengths, to be honest.
I'm actually working on a communication course. I'm putting a beta group together. If anybody's interested, you can private message me, or I'll put a link for an email to sign up for if you want exclusive updates. I'll put a private group together for that. But I'm so passionate about communication in terms of influence, persuasion, sales, all that, because I believe that is one of the most undervalued area of humanity in people's relationships. They're even, I would even argue, their own mental health, right? The quality of communication you have with yourself and the world. If anything, I've learned communication strategies from some of the best on the planet in life and business. So if you communicate, elegantly, I realize that you can open doors that otherwise wouldn't be opened, no matter who you are, what credibility you have or don't have, male, female, successful, not successful, whatever. These principles work, and they work consistently.
That's amazing.
Because at the end of the day, human beings are a stimulus response. So if you
100%.
learn how to stimulate it, you can get the response you want more often.
Right. And communication is so deep as well, right? There are multiple levels of communication, right? There's verbal, nonverbal, and different situations as well. So that's a whole art, right? It's a whole art in and of itself. Elegant communication.
Absolutely. And it starts with yourself, right? A lot of times what I tell people is, they say 7% of communication or less is actually the words you use. Most of it is the tonality, the energy, the body language. And you can even translate those other elements over social media platforms, right? I know it sounds crazy, but for example, with the advent of Instagram and Facebook, you can send voice memos. So instead of, hey, Tom, it's, hey, what's going on, Tom? Versus like, hey, Tom, thanks for your message, right? But if I say, hey, Tom, thank you so much for your message, those things, people feel that. And it's not being disingenuous. You can be very genuine and offer that, but now you have a medium to express that genuine approach, or that genuine attitude, and people feel that. Again, you cannot transfer that with what you're not experiencing. So long story short, I was just so inspired to do this that I sort of bumped into the walls and made all these mistakes. And that's why I take such joy in helping people nowadays do this, because a lot of people bump into the walls, waste thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, get discouraged, they don't do it. When the reality is they have a brand to build, a business to build, a legacy to leave. And it makes me very, very proud when I see my students. I have students that, making millions of dollars or whatever, but more than the money, it's like seeing people create something that's been in their heart and soul for a while that they just didn't know how to do, that they know they're going to do anyways.
Yeah.
In spite of their fears and limitations. It's one of the most fulfilling things in the world. And I know it because I've been there. So I know what the path is like. I know what having no listeners is like. I know that if you just change your thumbnail like this, you'll get way more views, or you just title it like this, or you structure your interviews like this, or if you're in this niche, you should interview this person and this person. And a lot of people waste time doing all that, and they don't realize how easily accessible it actually is. And more people now more than ever want to get their story to the world. So most of the people that you might be intimidated by interviewing actually are dying to be interviewed on platforms, but nobody has the courage to ask them. Right?
That is so interesting.
Nobody has the courage to. And so if by default, just showing up in their inbox, you're automatically, and I've learned this, you're automatically in the running to be considered, right? If I have a business and I'm hiring people, I don't hire the best on the planet for the job. I hire the best who applied, right? The best who submitted themselves forward. So
That's
you
good.
have to submit yourself forward. Even if you don't win some, you only need to win a few to change your life, your business forever.
So it's about showing up. It's about showing up to the right people.
It's about showing up and realize you're playing a long-term game. A lot of people say, well, what's the ROI of coaching, or the ROI of a show, or the ROI of content? And for me, I couldn't even put a price on it, because think about it. What's it worth to have a relationship with Tony Robbins?
Priceless.
And I've done this with billions of dollars worth of entrepreneurs, dozens and dozens and dozens. And again, I'm not saying this because I'm so great. I'm saying it because I'm humbled by the whole thing, that now more than ever, with the advent of social media, you have a chance to really, people could spend $100,000 in ads, right? Let's say, and the best case scenario, you make some sales and you rented some traffic. But imagine if you built a network of people that, I have the good fortune now, again, if I have a problem with anything in business, I can text Tom Billy, hey, Tom, for taxes, do you recommend I do this, or C Corp or S Corp or this? Hey, Ed, I was wondering with my sales team, this or this. if it's Randall Pitch from Live Fit Apparel, who I've interviewed on the show, hey man, I was wondering for merch, should we use this or this, or do you recommend overseas, or how do whatever, or say the creator of Hot Cheetos, just for mindset advice. It's so the relationship, the ideas, the insights, the collaborations, the clients that can bring you, but more than all that, the impact you leave from reaching a vast amount of people who are going to be interested in the people you're interviewing, because that audience has interviews. I mean, there's just so many benefits to it. I didn't even know what I didn't know, but thankfully I do now.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Omar. So I know we can talk for hours, brother, but I also want to respect your time. So I think the last question I want to ask you is, because now you have successfully built this incredible show, The Passionate Few, and you're out to make more impact. My question for you is, what is the impact you want to create for the world with your vision?
I love that. I love that question. It's interesting. For me personally, there's two answers to that. And thank you by the way, you've done a phenomenal job. And again, if anybody enjoyed this interview, let ZENAS know in the description below or the comments below if you guys enjoyed this and what questions you guys have for future stuff. But I want to honor you and thank you. You're doing a phenomenal job at provoking these questions.
Thank you, brother.
The one thing for me I would say is I want to build a body of work I'm proud of. And it's really that simple. A body of work that, when I'm dead, gone on a pile of dust, or God willing, I have life, or what, however God chooses, I accept it. Whether it's a short life, a long life, I'm grateful for even where I'm at now and the momentum we're on. But to me, my vision is to create a body of work that can live on for many years to come, that can inspire people to say, hey, if he did it, then I could do it. Not just Omar, but the men and women that I've interviewed who've gone from being a janitor to being a billionaire, and living in your car twice homeless, to building, huge companies or affecting millions of people. It doesn't even have to be about money. We've interviewed amazing people like Sharran, who's a holistic health expert and coach. And she talks about mindfulness and having success without the stress. And what good is it having all this stuff if you don't have fulfillment inside, right? The classic success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. I heard this expression the other day, and I'll share it. And I'm glad you provoked this answer out of me. Is, they say very often you find millionaires going to monks for answers. You very seldomly find monks going to millionaires for answers.
Wow.
And the reality is that so many of us are not acting upon the inspired visions within. So really my mission in life is to create a body of work through, obviously with my clients and my production company and all, the things that we help people with, but also through my body of work at any level, whether, they want to create something or not, is to really give to the world out of their inspired vision. Because I believe when you do that, I believe that inspired vision inside of you came from somewhere divine. I personally believe in God. I'm a man of faith, but whatever people choose to believe, that inspired vision was put inside you for a reason. So my mission in life is to help people take that inspired vision within and give it to the world. And hopefully my body of work is an example of me doing that first and foremost with other people who've done that. And if I can do that, whether it's, clients who we work with or create their own shows with or blow up their brand or business with, or it's one person who listens from some country in the world, and they're maybe in their teens or 20s or 30s or 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. And one little thought inspires their day, helps their relationship, helps their mindset, helps their diet, helps 100%. Their business. That to me is the ultimate gift, the ultimate fulfilling gift.
That's incredible, man.
Helping people Les Brown has this beautiful expression. He says, don't die with the music inside of you. So hopefully in some way my body of work inspires people to play their God-given internal instrument and allow the world to enjoy it.
That's beautifully put, Omar. And is that also your coaching philosophy? Or
yeah, it's interesting. I work with so many different people, so many different characters, and I love them all. When it comes to coaching, my approach is, first of all, I've had really good fortune in getting amazing, inspired clients who are like men and women on a mission. They're not just like trying to build a brand or trying to build an interview show. They get that too, but what they get is much more than that. And it's interesting because so many of them think that's what they want when they apply and they join us, but they end up finding that they actually are on a God-given mission, that they're usually on a mission to share a message, share a story, connect with people that they would like to, show that their brand or business is different from anybody else in their brand or business who's doing things like that, not from a marketing positioning place, which is a benefit, but more so from a place of like, look at these conversations. This is who you're really working with. You can see the humanity in somebody 100%. When you're having a conversation with a legend. You can see the side of somebody. You say, I don't like that person, or I love that person, right? So whatever it is like my coaching philosophy is the same way I started the passionate few. It's by the passionate few for the passionate few, and usually other people who have businesses where they help their clients play their own instruments or create their own sense of fulfillment from their products or services that they offer them. Those are usually the people I work with. So my philosophy is to help accelerate them, challenge them, challenge their limited beliefs, have them take imperfect, radical, immediate action. A lot of times I tell people, you haven't started your show or built this, because literally you just didn't decide on your logo or your name, or you didn't pick a launch date.
Right. You can see these things, right?
Exactly. But success loves speed. And so many times all of us run into this rut where we want to take perfect action, and in the process we get into analysis paralysis and nothing happens. And so really my coaching philosophy is I help people step on the gas and get to their dreams quicker, sooner, faster, more fulfilling. And obviously do that with $100 million. We have what's called a $100 million. It's basically the $100 million program, or basically over a 12-week coaching program. And again, I'll put a link below if people want to apply, but basically it's a $100 million guarantee where I'll actually book $100 million worth of guests for the show, and I collaborate with them and figure out who they want, who they don't want. We put it together just so that I can help accelerate them and show them what's possible. So they don't, a lot of people start shows or podcasts, but I really believe not that money is the ultimate metric, but let's face it, titles like that are sexy, right? It's sexy if you can show people who've done crazy extreme things, and you can always, inject your own story, other people's story. But if you really want people at the top of business, I find that a lot of my clients enjoy that. That gives them a thrill and excitement. And if that's what it takes to set the momentum and energy in place to get them to fall in love with this thing that's been inside of their soul, but they're scared of, that's why I do it. So we find $100 million worth of entrepreneurs, whether it's 100 people who've done $1 million or 10 people who've done 10 million, or, X amount of people. That's very often we have people into the multiples of that. Wow. I just had one of my clients, I've had my clients interview the Grant Cardones, the Dean Graziosis, the Russell Brunsons. I haven't quite been able to avoid the craziest requests from my guys. I've interviewed John Paul, the wealthiest man in America. So my clients always want the best of the best. So
because you set the bar so high.
Yeah, because and let's face it, a lot of people start podcasts and shows. Yeah. Nobody listens to them. But when you create shows with leaders, titans of industry, moguls, yeah, that's how you can really have a high ticket podcast. You can, my course called High Ticket Podcaster, right? Is that it can help people really position themselves really well, but also get people to listen to you, right? What good is having a mission and a message if people aren't listening to you? And so if you can 100%. Reach the top of the top, if you can collaborate, if you want to get to increased levels of business, the classic expression, right? Your network is your net worth. And so while I've interviewed $10 billion worth of entrepreneurs, my net worth isn't quite that financially. However, what I will tell you is that, and this is interesting, and a lot of people don't know this, this became an accidental benefit. Okay. Is when you have relationships with people at a higher level, when you're doing the podcast, you end up having conversations with them right before, now during quarantine, you could do, and we help people, whether it's in person or over Zoom or whatever. But when you have conversations, you have little moments of conversations just before the interview, just after the interview. Sometimes you get their phone number and you text them. And those conversations end up helping you so much in business and life, untangling webs in your relationships or in your marketing or in your service or in your business or in your mindset or in your emotions or whatever, you cannot put a price on but would otherwise cost millions of dollars. And it's a good way to get free coaching. It's a good way to build a great network, and you'll be blown away at how many times that's opened up a business opportunity, or that's opened up a partnership, or they knew somebody who ended up working with me, or right. It becomes this synergistic thing, and this level of fulfillment and enthusiasm. It's an intangible ROI because you're in an elevated space. I got to tell you, we drop interviews every week with legends, and it's a very fulfilling feeling, not only for me, but it's cool to see myself and my clients feel like magicians in a certain context, right? No way, how'd you get that person? How'd you get that? So there are things like that put you in an elevated space and make you feel good. And when you feel good, you do good. And when you do good,
100%.
You get to do even more good for yourself, your loved ones, your family. So that's just a long-winded way of why I do what I do, and why
I love how passionate you are, brother. Like, I can feel the passion, even though like right now for you, it's so late at night that we're doing this. I really appreciate you for that, because I know you're exhausted. Yeah, like the quote that came up for me is, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if we are, go together, right? And so
it's true. Yeah, and it's true. And even me, I got to say, like, at the time, it was $300. I emptied my bank account to get a coach. And then it was for equipment. I bought a bunch of equipment I didn't need. I tell many of my coaching clients this, like, it's like, I know clients who spent $10,000, $12,000 to get, cameras and this and this and this and this and this. And I give them a little strategy. I'm like, oh, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? Why don't you just, and they find little strategies. For example, just zoom in and get specific. Like, what if you just hired freelancers? Because anybody you hire obviously has a skill with that piece of equipment. So why are you going to buy the equipment if they already have it anyways? And you could just pay them a fee to do their thing. You don't have to store it, house it, pay for it, worry about it, all this. It's a waste. So, and when you take those little expenses out of it, whether you're doing virtually, in person, you're marketing, whatever, there's expenses all over the place. But if you know how to like avoid those and like be in momentum, you can focus on your core functions. You don't have to worry about, what about this? What about that? What about that? Because what good is it if you do all this work? I see so many people start their own shows and nobody watches.
wow.
And it's like, it's like writing a book that nobody reads. I get it. It's a passion project, but the reality is people do judge a book by its cover. So you might as well make it the best damn cover ever. And if you're going to invest in anything, invest and make it in a really good cover, because that really good cover can ROI for you in so many ways beyond what you could even imagine. And so whatever number your goal is in your life or business or whatever, and let's face it, a lot of my audience is entrepreneurs. That's why the narrative is there, but you don't have to be an entrepreneur to see the message here is, I work with people who are entrepreneurs. Some people aren't, but everybody, like I said, is on a mission, a man or woman on a mission to really share things that are special in the world and help special people in the world do special things. And so I think now more than ever with COVID, we realize the importance of this. And a lot of people are asking themselves questions and making decisions that they realize will change their destiny or keep them in the same level of uncertainty that they're in and didn't know they were in until recently. We have the highest unemployment rate ever going on right now. And people are realizing, like, hey, if I'm going to take control of my destiny, it's got to start now.
Yeah, now's the time. And, when you live a life of mission, that's a life worth living,
Yes.
So, guys, like,
success and failure constructs. Sorry, I just want to make
Go for it.
point. Success and failure constructs limit the mind, which you don't really want to be a success, because as soon as you do a success, you're afraid of failure, or you want more success, right? And you don't want to be a failure, because if you're a failure, you're seeking success. You don't want to always be stuck seeking. This is why gratitude, being centered, being balanced is important. What you really want to be is a person on a mission. You want to be a man on a mission. A man on a mission is what we all seek to do, and what will bring us a certain level of equilibrium and clarity. Because when you're on a mission, you anticipate challenges, you anticipate support, but you anticipate the challenges. And so you're centered and grateful for both as you navigate your mission, right? Say you're in war, you're on a mission, it's not going to be smooth. You want to be a man on a mission, a man or woman on a mission. You don't want to just be successful or failure. And why I love creating a show is because I get to meet other people on a mission, and I get to accelerate mine in the process. And you can't put a price on that. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. What would that be worth? And the answer to that for me is that'd be worth my whole life.
beautiful. Wow, that was beautiful, Omar. And I love how you said gratitude in the challenges as well. I think that's a powerful thing to do when you're in a mission. Wow. So guys, like, Omar, thank you so much for your time, and, guys, like, if you guys took something away from Omar today, you can tell that this guy is a master of the two P's, passion and practicality, right? It's this beautiful synergy of the two.
I like that.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Yeah. And so, like, if you took something away from this, which I'm sure you did, comment in the comment section below, man. And thank you so much for just all the wisdom that you have imparted with us. If people want to learn more or work with you even, where can they find you? Is this in those links?
Yeah, so basically we'll put links below. You guys can follow me on Facebook or Instagram. If you guys are interested in watching other videos, I'll put links to other videos, other interviews that might inspire you. And yeah, you guys can find me there. And also if you guys are interested in applying for coaching or any of our done for you services, you can apply in the description below. Just fill out a little questionnaire and my team will get in touch with you. Hop on a phone call and see what your mission is. What's your vision? What are you inspired to do? What are you already creating in the world? And you won't have to worry about it being like a sales call or anything like that. But if we work with people that are on a mission, and so if you're on a mission with your show, with your vision of what you want to create with your own show or your own podcast or your own guests, and you see the value that could bring you, then go ahead and fill out that application below and my team will get in touch with you. And again, if you guys have any questions, find me on social media platforms. If you want to check out interviews with the Hot Cheetos, the Grant Cardone, whatever, that's totally free. You guys can check out all those links below. Enjoy the channel. And it would mean the world to me if you guys could subscribe, like, and share this with a friend if you think it'll bring them value. And if you enjoy this, you're like, you know what? I like this guy, Omar. I think he can help me and he might be able to help you. Then it would mean the world to me if you guys share the show. And live strong, live with passion. And thank you guys for being one of the passionate few in ZENAS. I want to honor you and thank you for having me here and picking my mind on a bunch of random stuff. I really appreciate it. It's fun to be in the hot seat this time.
Yeah, awesome. And your seat is red too, so matches the color.
Yep. It's a really hot seat.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much, guys, and stay awesome.
Awesome, brother. Take care. I'm glad you guys enjoyed this.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed that video, make sure to smash that subscribe button right now. And also, if you're a podcaster, you want to launch your own YouTube show, and you want our team to help you grow it out for you, to help grow your business and your audience, we specialize in doing so. You can check out the free Facebook group below or apply for one-on-one coaching. And last but not least, share this with a friend if you think it'll bring them tremendous value. I know you were inspired, and who knows, they might be too. So make sure to share it. And last but not least, make sure to click on this video and watch the next one. If you thought this one was inspiring, this one will blow you away.